You may have realized that being healthy feels different than it did in the past now that you're over 50. If you want to maximize your health potential but don't have time to read through overwhelming pages of Google links, this is the show for you. Welcome to Healthy Tips After 50. We love doing the research, finding solutions, talking to health experts, and learning what works and what doesn't. Now, your host. She spent the last 25 years dedicated to feeling her best and is here to share her best findings with you, Susan Rosen.
Hi everyone, this is Susan Rosen, your host, and I have a special guest today, Louise Tyrrell. Am I pronouncing that correct? Oh, correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Louise Tyrrell. And Louise is a inspirational speaker and a yoga teacher. She has a really interesting practice where she's integrating those two pieces together in her business, which is called ZenLife. I've asked her on to tell everyone here about what she's been doing and also how she can suggest and help us with getting through this pandemic that we are all living through. And so, Louise, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you live and so on and so forth.
I will indeed, and thank you so much, Susan, for inviting me on to join you today. It's absolutely a pleasure to be on the show. I'm Louise in Ireland, a long way away, and we're currently going through the same pandemic as the rest of the world. It's quite stressful here. We're all in lockdown, as I'm sure.
Yeah,
I think everybody's
yeah.
now at this point. So yeah, people are finding, it's stressful, like it's bringing up a lot of anxiety and fear and feelings of isolation for people as well, and wondering when will it be over? How can we cope? So I'm actually extremely busy at the moment, but I'm offering a lot of my services complimentary and supporting health workers and supporting people in whichever way and however I can to get through this crisis, which I believe we can get through. But for the moment, we have to acknowledge and accept that we're in it. We don't know when it's going to finish, and to acknowledge that when we are in a crisis, it's a very stressful situation. It can sometimes be a shock to the system. We go into the fight or flight response in the body, which brings on feelings of feeling overwhelmed, feeling a bit panicky, perhaps. I call it at the moment the panic epidemic instead of the pandemic, because everybody, because it's almost like it's the uncertainty, I think, that has led to everybody wondering, well, what should I do? Like, should I buy 400 toilet rolls? Should I stock up my fridge with food for 3 months, or should I stock up my fridge for 1 week? Or how will I visit my friends? I'm not allowed to go outside the door. I have to keep myself protected. And so it's natural if you are feeling fearful at the moment. It's natural if you're feeling stressed, unable to sleep, or wondering what to do. These are all natural feelings. Like, we're all feeling them all over the world. Most people are anyway. So we are in this together. Like, it's amazing how it is actually bringing the whole community and the whole world together.
Yes, I totally agree. It's pretty amazing, and it'll be very interesting to see how long that lasts after we get out of this, right?
Yes, exactly. Because actually on the news now today in Ireland, we were being told that we were due to come out of lockdown actually on the 29th of March. Then that was extended. Now it's extended again. We're being told today that it could be a couple of months. So I think that,
here too.
So, what type of feelings do you think people are having, Susan? Like, would you think, your audience, in how can I help in the best way?
Well, I think that everyone is definitely feeling a lot of the things that you that you already identified, right? I also think that what is making people even more worried and uncomfortable, maybe that's not the right word, but is that it's not only, we all kind of know what we're doing right now. We may not like it. We're worried about getting the coronavirus. We're worried about our, say, our parents or our kids, or right, especially if they're not with us. And our, you know, our kids are worried about us.
Yes.
And, but I think the thing that is kind of in the background of everyone's thoughts is, well, the world is going to be a hell of a lot different when we come out of lockdown. You know,
Yes.
I'm assuming it's the same where you are, but where I am, I mean, there are a lot of small businesses that are going to be out of business, and they're not going to be able to come back. And that includes restaurants and bookstores and, you know, the whole world is going to be different. We've all gotten all these new skills of being online and having meetings online. And I know where I've read where these large companies are rethinking a lot of their own practices going forward. So I think the world is really going to be a different place. And so there's a lot of uncertainty about that.
Exactly. And uncertainty, well, let's put it this way, like certainty is one of our basic needs as a human being, the need for certainty. So now we feel uncertain because nobody can actually say, like, the only thing that is certain at this moment is that it's all uncertain.
Right.
That's the only certainty, is that it's all uncertain. Apart from that, like, there is no certainty. We're feeling a sense of like insecurity. So we're feeling all the opposites to what we're actually normally used to having or feeling. Safety. We mightn't be able to go out of our homes. If so, we're thinking, if we do, well, will I be safe? Will I catch the virus? Has anybody got it already? Have I got it already? I don't know if I have it already. What happens if my sister gets it? What happens if my mother gets it? What happens if... So there's all this fear and anxiety being built up in the system, which is a normal reaction if you are asking yourselves those questions. Like if you're asking yourself, well, what if that? Then that's going to bring up fear and anxiety in your body. If you're lying awake at night with 1,000 thoughts in your head, that's going to bring up fear and anxiety as well. You're not going to get a good night's sleep. You're going to wake up feeling tired the next morning, and you know, you'll just be going through your day. And it's at the moment like, it's like Groundhog Day actually for some of us. Like I woke up one day last week and I had to actually ask myself, what day is it?
Yeah.
I said, I actually sat there for a few moments and I was saying, like, is it Wednesday? What do I know? What am I supposed to be doing on a Wednesday?
Yeah.
Because normally I have a schedule, you know. So a couple of weeks ago, I knew exactly on a Wednesday morning, I go and teach an over 55s yoga class. Then I drive to a different village and I teach another yoga class. And then I go to a company at Wednesday at lunchtime and I teach yoga to that company to help them with stress release, you know, because that's vital for people working in offices. And then I go somewhere else, and so I always knew what I did on a Wednesday. And now I wonder, is it Wednesday? So we have all this, you know, and one day is just rolling into the next, into the next, into the next. And even like, for instance, if you were used to going shopping on a Saturday for your groceries, now you can't go shopping on a Saturday necessarily. In Ireland, we can't go shopping between 9 and 11 any morning unless we're over 70. So
Over
we have to,
70. They do 60 here. Yeah.
so they do like over, well, it could actually be 60 actually. It could be, I thought it was 70, but possibly it's 60 here as well. But yeah, so I mean, like, so we have to rethink everything. So we have been upended really, you know. I mean, like, nothing is normal anymore. And just as you said there, Susan, nothing will be normal again. Nothing will be, when we're all set free from this, we will not be living the normal life that we were living before it started. That's a certainty as well, I guess. Life is changing. Life will never be the same again. While we're in this now, we have to think about In my experience, well, the last time I was in a crisis, it wasn't a worldwide crisis, it was a personal crisis,
Mm.
was when my dad passed away a couple of years ago. I remember we were all in the room the day that he died, thankfully, which is not the case for people nowadays.
Mm.
But we were all in the room in the hospital. It was a Sunday afternoon. It was a family afternoon, which was always a family afternoon. It was absolutely wonderful in some ways. There was 15 of us there,
Wow.
singing, laughing, crying. I mean, we were blessed. My dad was in a room by himself. He was dying of cancer. We knew that he was dying. So it was a mixture of, well, it was just very sad, of course. But I remember when my dad took his last breath, like I actually started to hyperventilate myself because I was thinking, I just like went into shock. And I didn't know how to cope actually when my dad passed away. It was my first experience of somebody close to me dying. I used to wake up some mornings wondering, where was he gone? Well,
Mm.
I couldn't cope with the fact that I'd never see him again. It was very stressful. It was very sad. And my health went downhill actually at that time, to be honest. I started sliding down a slippery slope.
Mm.
I wasn't able to move. It reminds me of even now because I was chatting with my friends the other day and I was just saying like we're getting no movement at the moment. Like the most movement I'm getting at the moment, well, I teach yoga online, but apart from that, is actually, walking from the bedroom to the kitchen, to the bathroom, to the living room, back to the kitchen, back to the bathroom, back to the living room.
Mhm.
We're not even getting any movement at the moment. So, and that's the
Yeah.
way I was, when I was in that stressful situation at that time. My health started to slide away from me. I was eating comfort eating, sitting around comfort
Yeah.
eating. I wasn't able to perform my work because I just was in shock and everything was changing, and I didn't actually feel up to. I didn't really seem to have the personal energy that I needed to go and teach yoga. So I took a break from it for a while, with the result that because I wasn't exercising,
Mm.
I started to gain weight. I gained about 30 or 40 pounds.
Wow.
I was 49 at the time. And then I remember one day waking up thinking, Louise, I have to turn this around. I mean, this is not sustainable. I cannot continue if I want to continue living. And who knows, are we going to live for 10 years, 20 years, 50 years? Even if we're 60 or 70 now, we could still live for 30 years, 35. My
That's
granny lived
right.
for
Yep.
well over 100. So we don't know. And this is what's amazing about this moment. And just like me then, I woke up one morning and I said, hang on, even though I'm in a crisis, even though I'm going through this shock and this uncertainty, yes, I'd lost my dad and it was very stressful and sad, and it was, and it still is when I think back.
Mm.
What is it? What is there that I can control? What can I control? What is it about this like that can be different? Is there a piece of string that I can even begin to pull on and keep pulling on that until it becomes a rope, and then I can actually start to pull on the rope and have hope? So I said, well, yes, there are a couple of things that I can control. I can get back to my yoga. I can get back to moving my body, just gently moving, 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 just a little bit more tomorrow, a little bit more the next day. Even though I felt totally unfit and inflexible at that time, I said, yeah, I can get back to doing yoga. I can get back to moving my body. I have control over that, total control.
Mm.
Nobody can take that away from me, crisis or no crisis. Then I can get back to healthy eating, and slowly but surely, like just to, to shed the couple of pounds at a at a time, just slowly but surely. And then I can change my mind. I can change, well, I can be waking up and saying like, well, what can I do?
Ah,
Rather than thinking of the sadness and thinking of the pain, what can I do? So I did all of that. I got back, I lost all the weight. I lost about 40
right.
pounds.
Wow.
So between when I was 49 and when I turned 52, I was just like a completely different person. I mean, I took a couple of months, maybe a couple of years, but a completely different person woke up one day at the age of 52 than was at 49. I felt good when I woke up in the morning. I felt healthy. I felt well, even though I thought I could never feel those things again. I felt
Yeah.
well. I had energy. I had enthusiasm for living, and I just made the most of every day. And you can do that, regardless even of how much stress you're feeling in your body, regardless of how terrible things seem at this moment.
Mm.
There's something that you can do to change it. There's something that you can do to help yourself to feel better. And I believe moving is the best thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Moving, dancing, whatever it is that you love to do, moving wise, to get the
Yeah.
energy flowing in the body.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I totally agree. Right now, what we've been doing is walking. In fact, I was out for a walk before you and I got online here for this, and excuse me. And what I do miss is some more aerobic kinds of
Yes.
things, which I had not totally gotten back to. I was just starting to when I was going to the gym, just because I stopped running a long time ago. I'm too old to run, not because I can't, but because it's not good for my knees and all that pounding. But people who listen to my podcast know I had fallen on one of my walks and broken my collarbone last September, and it's still not. I don't have the weight, weight bearing on it. So I have my little barbells that I do, but I haven't been able to really do any aerobic stuff. What I need is one of those little. I was thinking one of those little bicycles that one of those little
Yeah.
pedal things that you can put next to a chair. You don't even have to have the whole thing and just do that. I was thinking that I need to get one of those.
Yes.
But I
Yeah,
try
well, I
and
mean,
run fast. But
yeah.
yeah.
And walking, Susan, walking is wonderful. Like, and if you're
Mm.
listening now and you love walking, or whether you have walked yesterday or whether you have walked or you haven't walked for years, we can all walk mostly. Now, not everybody can
Yeah.
walk, of course, because like you might be restrained in some other way, but
Mm.
certainly just to get out into the fresh air is fantastic, and walking is wonderful. But we have a problem here in Ireland at the moment because we're not allowed, if we're over a certain age or you have a health condition, you're not allowed actually outside your door. And it's the
Oh,
same. It's the same.
interesting.
Yeah, it's the same in England. Like, I was actually speaking with a friend of mine this morning in England, who's
Uh-huh.
at the moment I'm running an online. It's a free 7 minute a day, 7 day yoga challenge, and my
Ooh.
friend Sasha was asking me about that because she's confined to her house. Well, mostly because her husband got a letter from the English, from the English authorities to
Mm-hmm.
say that because he has an underlying medical health condition, he's
Mm.
actually not allowed outside his door for 12 weeks. With the result that they can't go for their usual morning walks.
Oh.
So Sasha phoned me and she said, Louise, can you tell me a little bit about the 7 day yoga challenge? Will we be able for it? Because I'm over 60 and my husband is 59, and will we be able to do it?
Uh-huh.
And I said, well, absolutely, because what's wonderful about this yoga is that it's for over 50s mostly.
Uh-huh.
It's going gentle yoga. It's only 7 minutes a day, and it's a wonderful way to start your day, actually.
Oh.
It's just nice and easy going. It's not the yoga that you see on the Instagram, of the younger people, which is fantastic as well for them. But like, I'm over 50, so I'm not going to be doing that yoga
Yeah.
myself or standing on my head or anything. So, I mean, I never actually did manage to get there, even though I'm teaching yoga for over 20 years, but I never actually managed.
I love it. Yeah.
I never managed to stand on my head, and I have no intentions of ever doing that.
Yeah.
So, but but what happened with me with the yoga was I was in a car accident when I was in my 20s,
Oh.
and so I was driving along in my car one day, and I stopped at the red light, and the car behind me didn't stop and smashed into the back of my car.
Wow.
I was thrown forward. I went into complete shock, started to shake, started to cry, started to tremble, remember very little. Woke up the next day, couldn't move. My body was just totally stiff
Oh.
and tired and painful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I ended up off work for over a year and a half.
Oh my
I
God.
was working I was a business analyst at the time, and so that was my profession.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up off work for over a year and a half. I tried the A to Z of medical therapies and complementary therapies at the time. I was on a waiting list for surgery for my back.
Oh my God.
I was praying and praying and praying and praying for somebody to, just intervene
Whoop.
and help me. So next of all, I found this little flyer which spoke about yoga. So yoga begins with Y. So I had to wait a while because I had gone AB all the way up to Y. So this is in the early 90s, 92 actually, or 93. So nobody knew about yoga in those days. Really, it wasn't as well known as it is now. But I spoke with the yoga teacher on the phone and she was so nice. So I said, okay, I'll try it. So I crawled into my first yoga class on my hands and knees. It wasn't easy, but there was something about it that just I felt safe. I felt comfortable. I felt, gosh, I can do this. I can move my body even just a little bit and keep building and building and building on that, with the result that I went back to the hospital to see the orthopedic consultant, and we were reviewing everything. I had extra scans and everything, and he sat there looking down at his report of my progress. He looked up at me and he said, Louise, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because you do not need to have the back surgery.
All right.
So
yeah, that's
when I
great.
heard that, Susan, tears poured down my face. I thought, oh gosh, I thought I could never feel better. And here I am, and I don't need to have the back surgery. So I was so convinced at how it had helped me that I left my job as a business analyst. I went to train as a yoga teacher. I trained as so became a yoga teacher, of course, and trained then in the whole wide world of holistic and complementary therapies, like trained as a psychotherapist, aromatherapist, dietitian, did it all. Like I'm still training.
Yeah.
I've studied in person with I was privileged to study in person with Deepak Chopra in America. I traveled over there to meet him and train with Dr. Wayne Dyer in person.
Yeah.
Eckhart Tolle, Tony Robbins, T. Harv Eker, Bob Proctor, John Astroff. I trained with them all
Oh
because
my goodness.
I couldn't get enough of this mind body. How can I be better? And
Right.
and then I was obviously working with clients at the time. So in order to help them, like, to be the best that they could possibly be and feel the best they could feel, I wanted to know everything, so that they didn't have to go and pay to go to America to do it all. I was going over all I could, getting back to Ireland, and inspiring people, to make a change in their lives so that they could wake with energy and enthusiasm and enjoy every day, just like I was. So that's what happened.
Wow, that's incredible. I'm very impressed. I'm very familiar with all of the people that you mentioned, and have done online kinds of stuff and read their books and all that, but I haven't actually done in person, so I'm very jealous.
Well, and I don't say that, I'm not
No,
sharing
no.
that like
I
to impress
understand.
anybody.
No.
It's only to impress upon you that, that I don't know why I did it. I don't know what inspired me to do it. Well, I love traveling anyway, and I love going to America. Actually, I love it. I mean, I was in America just before the coronavirus struck. I was in Los Angeles at a
Okay.
speaker. Yeah, I was in Los Angeles just at the end of February at a speakers, authors, coaches convention, and then I flew back to Ireland and flew back to New York the following day for another event, and then I flew back to Ireland, and then New York went on lockdown. So so it was good timing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I was born and raised in Los Angeles, so.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love
well,
America.
yeah, I got out of LA as fast as I could. I left to go to college. I moved back for a couple of years when I was in my 20s, I guess it was, but haven't, I used to go back to see my family when my mother was still living down there, and living, period. But yeah, it's like anything, things, it's so funny because there's so many places you'll talk to people and you'll say, oh, I love that city where you live. And they all go, it's always better if you're a visitor.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we do have that idea sometimes, that the grass is always greener on the other side. But
Yeah.
I believe, I'm a firm believer of making the most of what you have
Oh, yeah.
in the moment that you're in, whatever it is, whether It's just looking out the window and looking at a tree, or seeing the, seeing the grass, or seeing the flowers blossoming, or even
Yep.
having like some fresh flowers on your table, admiring the fresh
Ah,
flowers,
yes. Doesn't that make a big
admire even,
difference? Yeah.
yeah, like drinking a nice glass of water. Like, I mean, that can help you to feel good, and just to be kind to yourself, and especially
Mm,
now. Like, now is the time to be the kindest you've ever been to yourself, to be kind and to be caring and nurturing, and to look after your health, like to look after your physical health, and to look after your mental health and well-being as well. This is the time, this is the opportunity, because the world is changing, and we wonder, why is it changing? What's this
mm-hmm.
about? Like, because we were all going, like, I often remember thinking, I was actually teaching yoga there just a little while ago to a group of very busy professionals. And when I was listening to how busy they were, and the time that they were spending in the traffic, and
Mm,
the stress that was causing them, the stress that working in an office was causing them, and the stress that deadlines and
yeah.
pressure and everything was causing them, I was thinking to myself, just as I was listening to them, I was thinking, Jeannie Mac, the planet is spinning so fast, it's just going to spin off its axis. That's what I was thinking, and like, that's nearly what's happening now, because like, it's like, whew, what happened there? Like, I mean, for some people at the moment that I'm speaking with, clients, I was on just on a one-to-one yoga session just before we started here, Susan, because it's nighttime here in Ireland.
Mm,
um I was on a one-to-one yoga session, and I was just, before we got into the session, like, the lady was just saying to me, like, she's still feeling the stress of being at home, but she's really benefiting from meeting, once a week on Zoom, which I never thought I'd be teaching on Zoom,
yeah.
once a week on Zoom, like, to do her yoga practice, because she finds that she sleeps great afterwards. And also, like, she was working in a very busy office, so she misses everybody. She misses going to work, even though she mightn't have liked the traffic. At least she was getting out of the house. And now she finds that, the confines of her house is actually affecting her. So she loves just meeting every week on Zoom for her yoga session. It's
Mhm.
doing her the world of good. So it's,
I, you stopped for a second there. That was very strange. Okay. Um, yeah, no, I think it's really I think it's very interesting, because I think that this has turned out to be a big wake up call to a lot of people. If for no other reason, they are realizing how busy they were.
mm,
Um, some people are thinking, oh, this is great. I don't need to be as busy, right?
yeah,
I can do things that I haven't done. I think that it's great with all the people who are trying to learn new things, take this opportunity to learn things. The people who are spending all of their time watching Netflix, I'm not sure that's very profitable, but whatever people need, I guess. But
mm,
I think it's the other part of it is that it's making people understand what's going on in their lives and the relationships that they have with different people, right? And particularly, I think, family members, those who they live with and those who they don't. And it's interesting, because one of the things that I'm always aware of, and I'm always pointing out to people, and it's part of my practice, is that people need to take care of themselves, because if you aren't taking care of yourself, you can't take care of others. And consequently, I think a lot of people are starting to realize that, and are starting to do it, even if they didn't realize it. And I think they may come out of this with a little different awareness that, oh, wait a minute, this worked a lot better when I was taking care of me first, and not
yeah.
just getting taken over by all these other relationships and responsibilities. So it's
Well, absolutely, absolutely, because you just reminded me there, Susan, when you were saying that, we have to
uh-huh,
take care of ourselves before we can take care of our family or anybody else.
mhm.
It reminded me of, actually, when I was flying back from New York a couple of weeks ago, sitting on the airplane, and I just heard, like, for the 1,000th time, the air hostess saying, in the event,
And yes,
unlikely event, they always say, in the unlikely event of an emergency,
yeah,
an oxygen mask will be dropped from the panel above your head.
Yep.
Place your own
Yep.
oxygen mask
Yes.
on first
That's right.
before attending to anybody else.
Yep.
Without your own oxygen mask, without looking after your health, without looking after yourself, how can we provide for our family or protect our
Mm-hmm.
financial future? Like,
Yep.
that's the bottom line. That's what it is. That's what it comes down to. And also, one thing, a very important message as well that you mentioned there is that this is an opportunity. In fact, another client of mine today said she feels like this is a golden opportunity for her to stop and stop to, to stop in her life, to stop
Mm-hmm.
all the
Mm. Mm.
busyness, to stop the busyness and to start taking care of herself and to realize that she's actually the most important thing in her life, which
Mm-hmm.
she is.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and like, we only get one shot at this. I mean, that's the reality. Like, we just get, this is not, it's not a dress rehearsal. I say it's not a stress rehearsal. I know sometimes we can feel so stressed that we actually feel like it's a stress rehearsal.
Yep.
And when you are feeling stressed, like, what is it that has helped you in the past? Like, you can think of what has helped you to feel like a little less stressed. And stretching, movement, stretching, when implemented correctly, can be the best
Mm.
stress releaser and injury preventer that there is.
Yeah.
So stretching when implemented correctly can be the
Mm-hmm.
best stress releaser and injury preventer that there is, because it's relating to the body, and that's where the stress
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And the whole thing about putting your own mask on first is like my mantra. I mean,
Mm.
I include that in everything I record and when I talk to people. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you and I are not the only ones. There's a lot of people that I've heard have started using it, but it's
Oh, sure, it's been around
yeah,
for years.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Oh
Yeah.
no, absolutely. But the
Yeah,
um
no, I
the other
know.
thing, yeah, the other thing I was going to say was, as far as the stress, one of the biggest things that I tell people to do, which is very similar to what you're talking about, and also has a part in yoga and a lot of the other physical types of things, is to breathe.
Breathe.
Just breathe in for 4 counts, hold it for 2 counts, and breathe out for 4 counts. And do that 5 or 6 times, because the first thing that when people get stressed, the first thing they do is they start holding their breath. And
Yeah.
it's so interesting, because I'll be, working with somebody, and then I'll go, okay, take a breath, just take a breath. And they're like, oh, okay. Oh, that's right. I forgot. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's so
Yeah.
bizarre, because how can you, I say this rhetorically, because obviously people do it, but how can you forget to breathe? I mean, we as human beings don't last very long if we're not breathing. but
Well, we
but
don't last at all if we're not.
no,
No.
no, and it just makes you more stressed, right? To have not have the oxygen in your
Yeah.
body. So it's just so interesting, but it's all tied up together, right? With the exercising and all of that, because a big part of that meditation, yoga, tai chi, whatever, is breathing. That's a big part of
Exactly.
it.
And that's what's one of the wonderful things about yoga, is actually that you learn how to breathe again properly.
Mm,
So it's almost like you're saying, Susan, when we're concentrating, when we're stressed, we forget to breathe properly. We're still breathing, of course, but we're only
mm,
sniffling a little bit in through our nose and out through our mouth. It's like a little sniffle,
yeah.
enough so that we're still staying alive. We can breathe so much better and so much deeper and so much easier, and bring so much vital oxygen and nourishment into the body when we know
Mm,
how to breathe. And when we're practicing yoga, that's one of the wonderful things that we learn. It's so soothing for your body.
yep.
It's wonderful for your mind. It helps to calm your mind as
Mm,
well. And it's actually one of the reasons why a lot of people practice yoga, is actually for that benefit. Because if they're very busy, if they feel that there's 1,000 thoughts going around in their heads, if they're not
yep.
able to sleep, sleep is a big thing. People can't sleep, but when you know how to breathe, you're able to bring your body into that lovely relaxed state when you get into bed, just to breathe soothing
Yep.
breaths, and then you'll drop
Yep.
off to sleep without even having to worry about it. So it's a wonderful thing that we teach in yoga as well.
Mm.
Yeah, breathing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, on that note, I think we can, unless you have any other, final thoughts that you'd like to share, we can start to wrap up. And
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. I think, Susan, I wish you
Mhm.
and your listeners, and I wish everyone we can get through this. We will get through this. We'll all pull through this together. And when we're allowed and given the approval and the authority, to get back outside, like imagine the celebrations where I speak about this, and your viewers are all very welcome to join for free the 7-day, 7 minutes a day yoga challenge. That's all free at the moment, so you're very welcome to join. But
Okay.
what I feel is that when we're all, imagine the celebration that we'll have, like when we are all set free, because that's what it will be like. We'll be all set free. Everyone will just run out the door and celebrate. Yay! But imagine being able to run out your door and celebrate and feel free because you have actually looked after your health. Whereas, if you don't,
Right.
that might be a different story. So it's
Yep.
time.
No, I agree.
No,
I agree.
time to take care and to nourish
Yeah.
yourself. Be
No,
safe.
absolutely. Absolutely. And if you give me your the website for people to sign up for your 7-minute yoga, I will put that also in the show notes as well.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And I may even sign up myself.
Well, Susan, you're very welcome to sign up. Absolutely sign up. I mean, the website is very easy. It's just louisetyrrell.com, and 2 R's, 2 L's.
Yep. Okay.
It's very easy. And what I found is that at the moment, it's not always easy. Like I was on the phone there to my mom earlier on today, whose friend is actually in hospital dying at this moment. And
Oh no.
so I spent about an hour today crying, actually maybe more. And then and that was a nice to be able to chat with my mom on the phone and to comfort her
Mm-hmm.
too through what she's going through. And to realize that we're just human. Like, we have our thoughts, we have our feelings, we have our worries, and we have our concerns, and just to accept ourselves for who we are, allow ourselves to be who we are, stay in touch with your friends and family at this point. I was talking with my neighbor on the phone just before the yoga class earlier, and my neighbor is 88. And
Wow.
she actually rang me. She rang me to see was I okay, and I said, "Yay! I'm
Don't you
supposed to be
love
ringing
it?
you. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
supposed
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
ringing you. Are you
Right.
okay?"
Yeah.
Because I've been ringing her every day, and she said, "I didn't hear from you today, so I was
Oh
worried." And I
no.
said, "No, I'm fine. I'm fine." So, but because I have been phoning her, and then she didn't
Yeah.
hear from me, she was worried about me. But so it's a time now to take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your friends, make sure everybody's okay, and we're all in this together, and we'll all get through it
Yep.
together. And I
Yep.
thank you so much. Thanks for having me here today, Susan, and for
Oh.
allowing me to share what I hope is helpful for everyone.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure that all the people who listen to my podcast will enjoy it as well.
Fantastic.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, it's Susan, and I just wanted to add a little bit to the end. First off, I wanted to say that I am not a doctor. This is not to be considered to be medical advice. If you are having any kind of issues with the coronavirus or with any other physical problems, please go and get some professional medical help from your doctor or from a emergency room or hospital. Secondly, I wanted to thank Louise again for being here on my podcast. It was a wonderful interview, and I hope that all of you enjoyed it. You can get a link to Louise's website as well as to her 7-day free video yoga challenge in my show notes. And I will look forward to talking to all of you next week.
This has been Healthy Tips After 50 with Susan Rosen. To stay on the cutting edge of the most effective health strategies, subscribe to this podcast and let us know what you thought of the show with a comment or like on iTunes. Visit healthytipsafter50.com for this episode's show notes, more resources, and free offers.